Hey, Dupe Divers, ready to explore something really unique today.
Definitely, I'm excited.
We're diving into a document called the Merli. It's not your typical self-help book, but think of it more as daily guidance with a kind of spiritual twist. You know what I mean?
Yeah, for sure. It's got this unique perspective on navigating life, blending spiritual principles with everyday stuff.
Right, it's all about finding that balance. And what I find so cool is how the Merli uses these analogies to connect spiritual teachings with things we can all relate to, like work relationships or even personal goals.
It definitely makes those teachings more accessible.
Totally. So from today's Merli, what's the first gem we're diving into?
Well, it's all about spreading good vibes. You know how the Merli encourages us to share uplifting news?
Yeah, I could see how that's valuable. I mean, haven't we all felt that boost when someone shares some good news? It's like contagious, right?
Exactly. And it goes beyond just feeling good. When you focus on sharing good news, you're actually creating a more positive environment, both for yourself and for others.
So it's like actively counteracting that negativity bias that we all have. You know, that tendency to focus on the negative.
Exactly. You're shifting everyone's perspective towards a more hopeful outlook.
That makes so much sense. Instead of getting bogged down by all the negativity, we can choose to highlight the good stuff and create this ripple effect of optimism.
Right. It's about making a conscious choice to focus on the positive.
Now, speaking of good vibes, the Merli also connects this outward positivity to something deeper, inner confidence.
Absolutely. The document emphasizes the link between inner happiness and how we carry ourselves, our conduct.
Interesting. So it's not about being arrogant, but more about having a quiet dignity.
Right. It's that inner knowing of your own worth.
Yeah, it's like that saying, confidence is silent, insecurities are loud. You can just tell when someone's genuinely confident. It radiates from within.
Precisely. And the Merli suggests that true confidence comes from having a sense of purpose. That feeling deep down that you're on the right path, moving towards something meaningful.
So it's not about faking it till you make it. It's about aligning your actions with your values and letting that inner strength shine through.
Exactly. It's about being authentically you.
I like that. So we've got good vibes and inner confidence. What comes next?
Well, the Merli takes it a step further and encourages us to become what it calls messengers of good values.
Okay, so not just radiating good vibes, but actively sharing them. I like that.
Think of it this way. Let's say you're in a leadership position. Part of your role is not only to be competent, but also to guide your team, share your knowledge and resources generously.
So it's about uplifting others and encouraging them to embrace those positive values too.
Exactly. You're creating a cycle of positive reinforcement within a team, a family, or even a community.
I can see how that would build a culture of respect and generosity, where everyone feels valued and supported.
Right. It's about creating a positive and supportive environment.
Now, let's be realistic. Life isn't always sunshine and rainbows. We all face obstacles, right? How does the Merli suggest we approach those inevitable challenges?
That's a great question. It's easy to feel discouraged when things get tough, but the Merli offers a really interesting perspective on handling those obstacles.
Okay, I'm all ears because I think we can all use a little guidance on how to navigate those rough patches in life.
It does. From today's Merli, there's this interesting perspective on handling obstacles. Okay, imagine you're diligently saving up for a dream vacation, right? And suddenly your car breaks down.
Oh, no.
It's a setback for sure, but do you just abandon your savings goal entirely?
Probably not. You'd probably adjust, right? Maybe tighten the budget a bit or delay the trip slightly, but you wouldn't give up on the grant.
Exactly. The Merli emphasizes the importance of maintaining that long-term vision, that persistence in spite of the setbacks.
So it's not about ignoring the difficulties. It's about approaching them with this calm, determined mindset, knowing they are temporary hurdles, not roadblocks.
Right. It's about cultivating resilience, that ability to bounce back from adversity.
Yeah, I can definitely relate to that. There have been times when I've wanted to just give up on a project or a goal because of those unexpected challenges.
We've all been there. But the Merli reminds us that it's in those moments of difficulty that our true character is tested. Yeah. Do we succumb to the pressure or do we rise above it?
And it's often those challenges that lead to the greatest growth and learning.
Exactly. It's all part of the journey. Now, this leads us to another key principle from tonight's Merli: self-respect.
Self-respect, that's a big one. I feel like there are a lot of misconceptions about what true self-respect really means.
You're right. It's often misunderstood. The Merli defines self-respect not as arrogance or ego, but as a deep understanding of your inherent worth.
Okay, so it's about knowing your value from the inside out.
Exactly. And from that understanding flows dignified conduct.
So it's not just how you treat yourself, but also how you treat others.
Precisely. Imagine someone who deeply respects themselves. They're less likely to engage in gossip or belittle others, right? Their actions and words naturally reflect that inner value they place on themselves.
It's like they inspire respect from those around them just by being themselves.
Exactly. It's not about seeking external validation. It's about living in a way that honors your own dignity.
That resonates with me. It's about setting a standard for yourself and living by it.
And when you have that solid foundation of self-respect, it naturally extends to how you interact with others. You wouldn't tolerate disrespect, and you'd treat others with the same consideration you give yourself.
Right. It creates healthier boundaries and more fulfilling relationships.
Exactly. Now, moving along, the Merli places a strong emphasis on the concept of service to others.
Okay, service. I've heard that term a lot in different contexts, but I'm curious to hear how the Merli approaches it.
It's not about martyrdom or self-sacrifice. It's about recognizing the interconnectedness of all beings.
So it's about seeing ourselves as part of a larger whole.
Right, and understanding that true fulfillment comes from contributing to something larger than ourselves.
So it's not just about helping others, it's about recognizing that we're all part of something bigger.
Precisely. Think about it like this. Let's say you're mentoring a new colleague at work. You're sharing your knowledge and expertise, helping them navigate the ropes.
Right, you're giving back.
But in doing so, you're not just giving, you're also receiving.
You're reinforcing your own understanding, getting a fresh perspective, and building a deeper connection with your colleague.
Exactly. And that sense of shared purpose, that feeling of contributing your skills and talents to something meaningful, brings a profound sense of satisfaction and joy. It's a win-win situation.
It's not about putting your own needs aside completely, but rather finding that sweet spot where you're using your abilities to uplift others and in turn experience a deeper sense of fulfillment yourself.
Precisely. Now let's move on to a more practical tip from the Merli. This one is about utilizing visual reminders to stay focused on our goals.
Visual reminders, that sounds interesting. What exactly does the Merli suggest?
Think about athletes who use visualization techniques to enhance their performance. They create mental images of themselves achieving their goals. Or consider someone who uses a vision board to represent their aspirations.
Right, it's about keeping those goals front and center, not letting them fade into the background of everyday life.
Exactly. The Merli encourages us to use visual cues to reinforce our goals and values. It could be as simple as having a meaningful quote posted on your desk, or creating a visual representation of your goals.
I can see how that would be helpful, especially when those inevitable distractions pop up.
It's like a mini pep talk every time you glance at that visual reminder, reminding you of what you're working towards.
Those little reminders can make a big difference, especially when those inevitable moments of doubt or distraction creep in.
Absolutely. And speaking of staying focused amidst challenges, the Merli offers a unique perspective on how to view obstacles, which is a good segue into the next part of our discussion.
Okay, I'm all ears. I think we can all use a little guidance on how to navigate those inevitable rough patches in life. So let's dive into that in the next part of our deep dive into the Merli. Okay, so we're back. And we've been exploring this Merli document. It's really fascinating stuff. We've talked about spreading good vibes, recognizing our self-worth, embracing solitude, and even practicing forgiveness.
It's quite a range of teachings, right?
It is, but what's really striking me is how all these seemingly separate ideas actually connect to create this bigger picture.
You're picking up on something important there. One of the most prominent themes that runs through today's Merli is this idea of transformation.
Transformation. Okay, so we're not just talking about personal growth here.
Right. It goes beyond that. The Merli describes a world that's in transition, a shift from negativity and disharmony towards a more positive future.
So it's like a collective transformation.
Exactly. And we as individuals have a role to play in this shift.
Okay, so how do we do that?
By embodying these teachings, kindness, compassion, self-respect, positivity, when we live by these principles, we become agents of change.
So it's like our actions have this ripple effect that can contribute to a larger shift towards a more harmonious world.
Precisely. And this brings us to another key theme that's woven throughout the Merli interconnectedness.
Right. We touched on this a bit earlier when we talked about service, that understanding that we're not isolated individuals, but part of something much larger.
Exactly. The Merli constantly reminds us that we're all connected to each other, to nature, to a higher power.
So our actions and choices have an impact beyond just ourselves.
Absolutely get ripple outwards, affecting others and the world around us.
That's a powerful reminder to act with more awareness and responsibility, knowing that we're all in this together.
It is, and it makes the concept of service even more significant.
Right, because it's not just about helping others. It's a natural expression of that interconnectedness.
Exactly. From today's Merli service is about understanding that true fulfillment comes from contributing to the well-being of others.
It's not about self-sacrifice or seeking recognition.
Right. It's about recognizing that our happiness is intertwined with the happiness of others.
So when we contribute to something larger than ourselves, we find a deeper sense of purpose and meaning.
Precisely. And that brings us to another important theme that weaves through the Murley's teachings, living with purpose.
Yeah, I think a lot of people struggle with finding their purpose in life. Does the Murley offer any guidance on this?
It definitely does. The Murley reminds us that each of us has a unique purpose, a reason for being here.
But it's not necessarily something grand or glamorous, right?
Right, it might be something very simple, but it's something that brings meaning and fulfillment to our lives.
So it's about discovering that unique purpose and then aligning our actions with it.
Exactly. And the Murley encourages us to look beyond external achievements or societal expectations.
Okay. So true purpose often lies in the simple things.
It does. Being a loving parent, a supportive friend, a dedicated member of our community. It's about finding joy and meaning in the everyday moments.
And using our unique talents to make a positive impact.
Precisely. And this sense of purpose is often intertwined with another key theme, faith.
Faith, we touched on this earlier, but I'm curious to hear more about how the Murley views faith.
Well, the Murley speaks of faith on multiple levels. It's about having faith in ourselves, faith in a higher power, and faith in the goodness of humanity.
So it's like a deep-seated trust that things are unfolding as they should, even when we can't see the whole picture.
Exactly. It's about surrendering to something larger than ourselves, having that unwavering belief that we're being guided and supported, even through challenges.
And that faith can be a source of incredible strength and resilience.
Absolutely. It allows us to face difficult situations with courage and hope, knowing that we're not alone and that everything will ultimately work out for the best.
I can definitely see how cultivating these themes, transformation, interconnectedness, service, purpose, and faith, would create a more fulfilling and meaningful life. It's about shifting our perspective from a limited, ego-driven view to a more expansive and compassionate understanding of ourselves and the world around us.
You got it. And the beauty of the Murley is that it offers practical guidance on how to actually integrate these principles into our daily lives.
So it's not just abstract philosophy.
No, it's about taking tangible actions and shifting our perspective in ways that can lead to real transformation.
That's inspiring. And as we wrap up our deep dive into the Murley, I think it's a good time to reflect on how we can personally apply these teachings.
Definitely. It's not about achieving perfection overnight, but it's about taking those small, consistent steps towards aligning our lives with these principles.
Right. So keep exploring, keep questioning, and keep deepening your understanding of yourselves and the world around you. That's what it's all about.
Couldn't have said it better myself. Thanks for joining us on this deep dive.
Until next time.